What's up, YouTube? This is a quick demo of how to replace either your light switch or your wiper switch in a 4th gen Bronco or an 8th generation F-Series style truck that's using these style of knobs. If you're having problems with illumination and you want to try and root it out, the first thing you should do really quickly is take a look underneath here at the fuse panel. So the actual fuse panel already popped off. If you look at it, let's go a little closer. So you can see your fuse position is here, the amperage, and then the corresponding circuit that it goes to. We're looking for exterior lamps and instrument illumination, which is number 4. It's a 15 amp one. And in this case, it has already blown. I pulled it out, but there it is, number 4. So looking up here, if you look up here, it is this top right one that you can kind of see in frame. So you pull that one out, and your fuse is good, then it's probably one of your switches. They're all pretty easy to read. They're all easily labeled. So again, that's 15 amp. I'm gonna set this on a tripod real quick. Hopefully it'll catch most of what's going on in frame. I don't want the one hand this, so stand by. All right, look at the 2 switches real quick. These should be kind of in frame. This is our wiper switch, which will open up, and this is the light switch. I bought standards for both of these. There's a part number for the wiper switch. So here's your wiper switch. Mine actually only broke because when I was putting it back together, when I replaced the light switch, it popped apart and the plastic housing broke, which was pretty frustrating. But there's a switch. We'll have a connector that goes in the back of this, interfaces with all of these. This is the intermittent one, so they have one also that is just a constant on, like a 3-speed. This black wire right here is this black wire that you can see down here below. This one does have a ground that actually attaches. Here's the part number for the light switch. This is the old one. I was going to show you how to replace it. This one's pretty corroded. It's pretty yucky in there. These are very bad switches, honestly. Ford, I think, was a little overzealous with these. They try to do a lot in one switch, and there's a lot of things in this that can go wrong at once or one at a time. This piece right here, actually Ford has put out a disclaimer about how it is actually a pretty big fire hazard. So if you put one of these back in your truck, they are a bit of a fire hazard, and Ford's aware of it. It's a 30-year-old truck. They're not going to do anything about it. They're just going to tell you, be careful. Yeah, that's about it. The knobs here are loose. They use these little clips for retention. They're pretty simple to understand. Basically, you push it on there, the knob sits in this. So there's the end, this fits in there, and then it goes in the metal piece. And then you use this for tension. When you pry it off, they like to go flying 600 miles, so watch out for that. But they just come straight out. They're not difficult to understand, but they can be annoying. So I'll take the knobs off. If you have a non-marring tool to try and get this off with, these panels are getting harder and harder to find and to replace, so it's nice to try and not totally jack them up. But a flathead screwdriver works just fine. So you pull it off, it hangs down a little bit. You can twist it so it's kind of out of the way. It doesn't want to interfere with you. Now, my plastic piece, over the years, it's gotten harder. It's plastic. It's broken away here and down here. So those screws actually don't really do anything. I'm gonna take a soldering iron and weld this back together and then put epoxy in the backside and fix it. But it won't be in this video, but you can do that if you're having trouble with this, and it will kind of melt together and be a janky plastic weld. The screws, you can either use a 7mm for, or I think this is a T20. Yeah, T20. And they'll back off just fine. So that's just a regular Torx, nothing fancy. Back this off. Your illumination light here is serviceable. You can swap it out, put a new one in. If you do that, I haven't put an LED in there before. I'm not sure what it would do because it is an adjustable one, but yeah, so you can pull this out a little bit. We're gonna pull this bracket off and it will be kind of free floating. It is a 16 millimeter on mine. That's what engages. Okay, that's off. Only the light switch has this. The wiper switch just has a little hex nut on there. So this should pull free. We'll have access to the switches. All right, now we'll go ahead down below and remove the grounding switch for the wiper. Now disconnecting this from the wiring harness, both sides of the light switch have clips. So you would unclip it and then it would come straight off, and then you would put your new one on if you had a new one. I have already done that, so I'm not going to. This right here is held in place by a little like retention detent inside. If you push down this button right here, this should it releases this spear-like piece. You can see right there at the end, there's obviously a little recessed slot or groove that runs the length of it. So when you put it back in, I don't believe it's keyed in any way. As long as you get it in the triangle, it's gonna fit fine. So make sure it's in there snugly the way you want it to. And then when you pull it out, it doesn't come free, but that's how that one is replaced. I would recommend picking up a tube of some dielectric grease and just shoving it in there. I just put a little bit in each of the slots. So each one of these just got a little dab on it so it'll last longer. All right, placing this. It should pop out. We've already removed our grounding wire. There's a screw that goes on there. It's green, it's a grounding screw. Sorry, there's some people out on the road are yelling a whole bunch. That's sweet. Love that. Okay. Now we're gonna try and wire this down in there a little bit first. It's kind of out of the way. There's plenty of room down there for it to go, so you don't have to be too concerned. Plug this in. That looks good. No problem there. All right, let me start trying to put it back together. We'll go with the wiper switch first because it's further in. I think it's a little easier access. This fits in that hole. There's not really a reason it's go one way or the other, but that box probably doesn't want to be in the top, so put that there. All right, there's the wiper switch. Now this one does come with a small key. I'll show you on the old one. So this little tab right there at the end fits into this groove over here, and that's what you can use for alignment. So you put it on there, it'll kind of fit in there, kind of. Yeah, so that kind of keys in place. That'll make more sense in a second when it's all right. Tighten this one down. I just go hand tight as much as I can with this thing. I don't think it's too big of a deal. Make sure this all fits up in there. The plastic's a little angry. I'm gonna pull the ground wire down so it's not acting all crazy up in there. Okay. Now right here is a little plastic tab. On the bottom is a little plastic tab. These will line up to help keep the whole thing in place. So make sure that when they're tightening those, they're not hitting, they're in the right spot. Cool. Line that up. Apply some light pressure. All right, that's all where it's supposed to be. Cool. So here's the grounding wire from the wiper switch. We've half engaged that. It's going to go back up through this old one. I'm not sure what this is grounding out, but you don't want to take that one out and have that system fail because it's not grounded anymore. Button that up. All right, fitment of these on there. It's pretty simple. The wiper one and the round knob both go like this. I think it's easier to insert these on here and then have them line up. Looks good. I also don't really recommend turning this a lot because this is a bad system. I think you should just leave it on whatever you're gonna leave it on, and then when you very occasionally have to change it. I just leave it on bright all the time. I think it makes more sense. I have to find a little clip for this thing, but it works the same way. You just push it back on there, and then you can test out your functionality, hook the battery up, and it should all come back together. All right, so I have misplaced the clip that holds this knob on. I'll have to find that and then finish this project up. You can still manipulate this. It's just a lot more of a pain in the butt. But hopefully that helps you figure out how to replace these switches. I've hooked power back on so you can see now this illuminates. Now you can hear very faintly the illumination indicator, like the lamp warning indicator, which is the small dinging sound that you hear. You can also remove that if you don't like it, but it is somewhat useful. I recently put in an aftermarket stereo, and if you're repeatedly blowing fuses, or if you're constantly having issues with this burning out, it could be that an aftermarket head unit like this is causing it to pull too much power. In that case, you might want to look into running a dedicated fuse for your stereo system, or hooking your stereo system up to wherever your amp is going so that it's more isolated. Other than that, it's a really simple fix, and almost anyone can do this with some pretty basic tools. So yeah, it was useful. Thanks for watching. Let me know. Parts are pretty easy to find. I went with the standard parts. I bought these standard parts because they have a lifetime warranty, so it was the same price as the other, as a competition, which I think was a, it wasn't Brake Best, but I was at O'Reilly's. These were like $35 a piece, and if it breaks again, they'll fix it. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you have any comments or questions on how to get this done, let me know.